Jean-Michel, you told me that you were going hunting with Jacques Pepin. Can you tell us about that?
We were with all one of us in a hunter in upstate New York, and we were mushrooming. We find a lot of chanterelle, and we were fishing. We were fishing frog to do frog legs.
Nice.
And we were cooking together and testing wines. It was
great.
a great time.
And did you do some fly fishing or just regular,
No. With for the frog.
Oh, just for the frogs. Oh.
Yeah. We go over on a night with an electrical with a torch with an electrical lamp, and we get the frog like that, the big frogs.
Wow.
We have a couple of fights about that because I like to preserve as much as I can around this beautiful pond.
Sure.
But the fellow over there, Jacques and Jean-Claude are a little bit more thinking about what they will have on their pan, cooking than preserving. I mean, this is it was a wonderful, very, very kind of close to nature than he can be with, Jean-Claude is a hunter, and I love to listen to all of these things who by the way, improve my cooking tremendously. Like I learned so much about how to, the way they hunt the deer and how they can have a better meat by not stressing the animals, and they use different technique, and I think is when you test what they do, when you test the meat, you see the complete difference, and that's very interesting for what I do.
Great.
I was with two chefs, one pastry chef and Jacques, who I consider to be obviously a chef, and it was very interesting for me. Learn a lot of things from a different generation.
I'm sorry. There must have been a lot of delicious things to taste then.
Yeah. We have a couple of meal was very pheasant terrine was absolutely spectacular that Jean-Claude made with wild pheasant. We have also some, plus Jean-Claude is a wonderful gardener. That means we have some spectacular salads. We even tried the new potatoes to just start, but they were a little bit little. We have obviously chanterelle. We have a couple of different testing of cheese. We have a lot of different meals and a lot of great wine. Wow. We have also deer. We have deer. This was very, very interesting. And you know what was very amazing? Then Jean-Claude cooked this deer, and for a sauce, he didn't use any stock. And he used a recipe of Jacques that I didn't know at all about it. And he deglazed this pan with chopped shallot, and after he deglazed with vinegar, a little bit vinegar, red wine, and he had a little bit ketchup. Would you believe it? And the sauce was absolutely delicious. And just monté with butter, and the sauce was absolutely delicious. It was like cutting corner to make a Grand Veneur sauce, but as with a lot of freshness, delicious, very interesting, very, very interesting.
Beautiful.
A lot of things with also corn. You just get some corn, and the way Jacques preps this corn with the chanterelle was a beautiful harmony of flavor here.
Wow. I'm jealous. Well, I wanted to ask you a lot of questions because,
sure.
You were my first real chef that I ever worked for.
Thank you.
And for me, you represented somebody who guided me without having stayed a long time with you. Mm-hmm. And but you gave me a lot of insight about what I should think about being as a chef, and your first interview terrified me. You said, and I recall the words exactly, you said, well, your mother's French. Are you sure she didn't tell you about this profession? And I was like scratching my head and saying, what is this guy talking about? And now I understand.
Okay.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I want to talk to you first about who were your major influences in cooking, and where did you start, and if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and when you started cooking.
My first influences was probably my father when I was a kid. He was absolutely not a chef, and he had nothing to do in restaurant business at all. He was a contractor, but he absolutely adored to cook, and I have the privilege to stay with him and go to the market with him. And he was, peasant market, because he always hunt for the best product that he can get, and he teach me slowly how to choose a vegetable, a fruit, what is the best cream, what is the best butter, and this influenced me completely. I was absolutely amazed about this passion for food that my father have, and I decided to do the culinary school because I was very interested. I was very passionate, as my father communicated his passion to me. I was very passionate about that, and after the culinary school, I have a privilege to work with Georges Blanc. And after that, I moved to a guy who was a master chef cuisinier de France in Saint-Tropez. His restaurant was a 2 Macaron Michelin, and the name of the restaurant was Les Muscardin. The name of the owner chef was Louis Lyons, and he had fisherman who was fishing for him, and he was doing bouillabaisse and all of this Provençal food, and it was here again a culture of the products, and I was very attracted about. And I observed, by the way, that talking with a fisherman was very, very interesting, because a lot of time they will teach you about the fish and the best way for them, in quotation, to cook the fish. That means the most simple way, because these fellows are very simple. They don't have any bite of sophistication on the sense of making a product more, too much work on a product. Well, in any way, after that I was sad, because Williams have a lot of affection for me and told me, you need to go in Paris. That's mean he sent me in Paris and to work with Gaston Lenôtre, who was a pastry chef, who started to be very, very well known in France. And here again, a man who was passionate by the product. And when I say passion about the product, it's not just about saying, okay, that's a good product, and the whole culture of the product, where this product come from, where is the best to get it, how is the best to get it, and all of that. This was fascinating me. And I guess from that, after I also have the privilege to work with the brother Trois Gros in Roanne, and a little bit also I did all of the Gaston Lenôtre school. Gaston Lenôtre have a school for chef in Paris, like a little bit Ducasse, and that's it. And I today I regret that I didn't do more. I also work with Marc Vera in Annecy, where I was, perhaps you heard about it, and here again is a matter of product, is very, very important. And but it's a different product. That means the forgotten product, the herb from the mountains. Vera is working with all of these products who are completely forgotten today on a today world. Very interesting.
Right. And do you think the flavors that you acquired as a child still remain in your palate and are presented in the food that I remember that you cooked, and I still carry some of that food from seeing your ideas and said, wow, I want to do that too. Do you still have those flavors in your mind, or do these things change because you're here in the United States now?
We were talking about that with Jacques Pepin and Jean-Claude, that was very interesting, because he was two chefs who live for a long time in America, probably 45 years in America. And effectively, there is a difference on taste, because we were mushrooming this chanterelle. The chanterelle here in this country seemed to me milder than the ones that we have in France. Sometimes in France you almost have to poach them because they are stronger. And Jacques points that out to me, and I would absolutely agree. Same thing with all of the vegetables. They are milder in America, but we don't know from what that comes from. We have no idea. But if you take a tarragon here and a piece of tarragon here, and you take a piece of tarragon in France, here is milder. You take a zucchini, you take a tomato, the fruit, the vegetable is milder usually. I prefer yes, I think mainly the food is not exactly the same here and is mainly milder. You see, you go in, for example, you have some product like the pork. The pork is very difficult to cook pork on this country, except if you go in, I'm talking about pork shop. Except if you go in an organic one, but otherwise it's always tougher and you have no tenderness. And if you go in France, for example, it is very easy to just enjoy a pork chop with very tender, with not, there is here the common beef is really better than in France or in Europe, definitively. If you want a great piece of beef in France, you will need to go on organic and etc. It will be very expensive. In America, the beef is very difficult to do not find a good piece of meat of beef. That's for sure. Chicken, all of the poultry are mainly, if I recognize on these countries, they did a huge progress. They are mainly still, I think, is more common to find a good poultry in Europe, in France, in any way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because the famous poulet de Bresse.
Yeah, but you know the poulet de Bresse, like you have a lot of another chicken today who are farm raised, who are you have some chicken of Louis, etc., who are beautiful chicken. People focus on the poulet de Bresse. Jacques will always say, I'm from Bresse, and I find the poulet of Bresse very good, but not as than people want to say about it. I think it's a very good chicken, but you have some another one who are as good and more and less expensive, because price is also a very important issue here. We have also even the eggs, the cream, and all of that are really mainly. But I have to say, we have a conversation about cheese, for instance. I can observe how today we have beautiful cheese in America for fellow who know how to source it. But you have some very, very interesting. In Connecticut, you have a couple of them who are absolutely wonderful. In Massachusetts, in Vermont, you start to have a lot of beautiful cheese who are coming around. That's great.
Yeah, because I think now there's a lot of people who are trying to go back to the artisanal style, and Americans who want to learn how to do the artisanal style of preparing cheese or making bread and food, for that matter.
Definitely. It's always a matter of market. It's always the money who speak. If you don't have a market, nobody wants to do it because they cannot sell their product. But if they see, then there is, I would say, more interest from the public and real desire to buy, effectively, that's opened a lot of door. And now to have this artisanal cheese, and artisan food mainly, this is absolutely spectacular. It's a dream coming true. And that's wonderful. I think in a couple of years from now, I really think we are going to see beautiful of everything in America, and that's for sure. It is really so much progress, and I observed since 10 years ago. And that is very, very bread. To talk about bread, sometimes you have better bread in New York than you have in Paris.
I think that's true. My big goal and my sort of holy grail was to visit all the boulangeries in Paris. And unfortunately, I went in August, so almost everything was closed.
Yeah, it was closed.
But I enjoyed a few places like Poultry. I was able to go see.
Well, Poultry, he died not so far ago.
Yeah, in a helicopter crash. Yeah.
Yeah. You even have some in Grenoble, or they still have the wood fire, wood oven, and all of that. This is great stuff. But I eat. For any reason, yes. I eat some bread, some baguette campagnarde in New York from a company which is called the Pain Quotidien. It was spectacular.
Oh, yeah, they're very good.
Oh, I was very impressed about their bread. I'm really as well than, perhaps sometimes better than what you can find on your neighborhood in France.
Sure. And we won the bread Olympics recently, so.
Yeah, this is obviously, this is congratulations. This is great, but this is an elitist kind of prize. You know what I mean? This is concerning a couple of individuals what will be interesting and when is being generalized all over, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Then for the benefit of everybody, this will be great when you can go anywhere and find great bread. If I want to find a good bread in New Haven today, I mean, correct bread, I can. But if I'm in Madison, Connecticut, it's really difficult. I will have a hard time here. Or you know what I mean?
Sure.
Is why we need to have a multiplication. But it's what I observe in New York. Everywhere now you can have great bread in New York. Definitively. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that was another question I was going to ask you relating to how much cooking in general in the United States has changed since you arrived here, and do you think it's gotten better, or is it just still taking little steps to get better? Is there a big difference from here and France still?
I really think is an enormous progress on the food in America. I'm amazed in 10 years of what I saw, and even more because I was here even before. But what I look at it and what I see today is absolutely, when I look at it, as absolutely tremendous progress. I think the food is absolutely, first of all, immensely interesting because you have all of this ethnicity on the foods, and you do not have, I don't think, anywhere else, but I don't know the whole world, but if I go in Europe, it will be more difficult to have this multiplication of different food from all over the world. If you go in New York or anywhere, even in New Haven, and you look and you have Thai food and Chinese and Japanese and obviously American and you have also Spanish and you have Italian and I mean Brazilian, Mexican. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's obviously I see something. I see an immense progress. I think it is easier to find good restaurant, and I think you see the very interesting things. I'm amazed about the progress done, and I think. By the way, a lot of French chefs didn't observe that very well and come in United States to see and look and take it very seriously, the progress, because they can learn it themselves too. And I think this is very, very good. And you have America have a market for it. That means I will think in a couple of years from now, or perhaps even now, then it will probably be one of the most interesting country to eat on, to see all of these difference of culture.
Yeah, I mean, especially where I live, I've gone into the Oriental markets and just so much variety of vegetables and just all different kinds of things that really open your eyes. And
for a person like me who is absolutely fascinating about product, you cannot find a better place to be. Yeah. It's amazing.
What can you tell us about the Union League Cafe and what sort of food you're doing there?
I'm not cooking at Union League Cafe. Something happened to me was absolutely interesting. Then I came back at Union League Cafe to help Jean-Pierre a little bit, but mainly on the dining room because he needed me as managing the dining room, and I have to take some to leave a little bit the kitchen because I have a huge operation in my back, and I was not able to work on the kitchen for a while. And I work on a dining room and enjoy. I see an all completely different aspect who I think make me a different chef. So it's not a lot of chefs who talk about that, but I think a vision of a dining room and to know about the dining room is changing the whole mind of a chef, definitively. Something else changed for me tremendously, then I get interest about wine. And this is so complementary of the work of the chef, and that changed for my whole life, my way to approach anything that I'm doing in the kitchen now, when I'm cooking with my friend, etc., is because to be interested about wine force you to exercise, to learn about your senses more than in the kitchen. Really more. You don't have a choice here. You are in a wine testing. You need to use and concentrate about what your perception of the smell of the wine, and after the texture of the wine, and after the aroma of the wine, and after about the minerality, the acid, the sourness, and all of that. And after that, you need to you need to memorize that more than in a kitchen. Definitively, as a chef. This means learning from wine and trying to analyze a wine, white, red, champagne, whatever you want, desert wine, make me really more focus on also analyzing what I was testing and understand it, and also for the pairing. Because true wine, if you feel that this wine has this sherry taste, then you absolutely like very much and have a beautiful minerality and a spectacular texture with enough tannin, you may think, this wine will go extremely well with for instance, a duck. Now you can reverse the process and say, I want to cook a duck. I'll give you for instance, a very easy one. And but the duck, the density of the meat and sour sherry will be perfect with that. Because I learned it from wines, and that if you are pairing on one way, you can use on a different. You can take your chef hat and say, I just test this wine. I test it with the duck, and it goes perfectly, and it's about sherry. And why not? I'm not cooking a duck, and I'm going to put sour sherry around and do. You understand the interaction? I think is very interesting.
Exactly.
That means definitively the fact to learn about wine, and that's another passion. And it's me. I think if I have a definition of myself, I will be with all humility that I can have. I will say what's fascinating me the most is probably the product, and this is another product, and it's very human. And I felt that changed my complete vision of cooking, and also perhaps my age. That means this was for me very important. And if I have anything to say to a young fellow who want to come on this business, I will say to him, just be very involved. Be curious about the dining room. Learn how to listen to your guest. Learn how to understand the process of a dining room. It's important for a chef, and to learn from your maître d' and all of that, and to have the feedback from your guest, and also get involved in wine. Very important to analyze the savor of everything.
That's great. And do you think as a chef, it was difficult you would have something in your mind for food, a taste or a certain flavor, and how it would carry over to the customers? How sometimes people tell me, you're thinking too much of how you like something. Does that carry over to the customers, or do you have to change to you have to guess who your audience is?
I don't think you have too much to think about that. You cannot, except if you work on a mass-produced place, or you have to, you just have to, except if it's a factory. If you are in McDonald's, you just have to follow a certain recipe, I will say, and that's fine. But when you are in a restaurant, you need to consider your own culture. You do what you are an artist somewhere at a certain level. And I think it's important to not take that away. That means the way you cook is what you like. You will never cook some things, and you will never cook well if you cook some things that you don't like or you don't believe on. Or you are not happy to do. That means definitively you should never discourage a chef who want to do something with what he like. I think is not. No, is not. You need to cook what you like, and because you will do it well. I definitely think so. It's very important. I remember working a little bit for a night or two with Freddie Girardet, And he always said, I cook what I like, and if that doesn't please anybody, I mean, he's probably a little bit elitist, but I will do something else. I will not. No, it's Robuchon was saying that when I was working with Robuchon, not Girardet, but Robuchon was always saying, I cook what I like, what I love, and if that doesn't please my guest, I'm going to do something else. But I'm not going to travestize what I like and some things that I don't like. No, because you will never do it well in any way.
I was asking Jacques about the restaurant ElBulli in Spain and how a lot of chefs are trying to redefine cooking or redefine the ingredients. Do you think that's kind of a new version of Nouvelle Cuisine, or is that important to cooking?
Well, I have to tell you that I heard about ElBulli a couple of years ago. I read a lot of articles about it. I never was on a restaurant. It's very difficult to get and I would love to go because I think it's a curiosity. Did I would like to eat every night over there? Certainly not. But I think because I like more simple and less sophisticated food somewhere. But I think is important for the food industries, and you have some fellow who are here who discover things like that. And what I'm always worried, and when you have a work with no vision, with no explanation, but here this fabulous chef have a vision. I think he was one of the first one to talk about texture, and who is very, very important. Let's say, as a sommelier today, as a person who loves wine, definitively I think I will be very, very interesting to go to eat on this place because this will exercise my palate, and I will love it. As a chef, definitely too, because you have some new technique. You always need to see some other things. Food is an art, and like any art, you always have some people that we call the precursors, the first to, the precursor.
The explorers.
The explorer. This is important, definitively, for the rest. Now, you cannot, you will always have people who will try to, because they have no vision, or they have not enough personality, to try to just Xerox the work of ElBulli. This will be absolutely wrong. But if that can give you some idea, this is very interesting when you can take this kind of ideas, this kind of new technique, and apply it to your own vision. This is, I think, very important, and I think ElBulli is as important than any person who do a very classical food. And do you remember on a time we have Larry Forgione, is another side of the spectrum, but is as important. As important. Yep. This is people who, in fact, give you mainly the limit of things in one way or another. It's too extreme, but it's very important, I think, and I definitely we are very lucky to have this fellow and show us some new things, and it's great.
Yeah, because a chef that I had worked with at one point had told me, when you're working with somebody, still with your eyes in your ears. Always, try everything, see what you like, and take it. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, but this is not enough. This is about technique. This is about putting things together. You need also to know your product.
Right.
At the base, to know the taste of a simple product by himself, to know a taste of a girole, to know how fragile it is, what is the difference between a chanterelle from America and a chanterelle from France is not so much interesting, except that in France they are a little bit more peppery. But to learn the product, and when you learn very well the product, you know what you can do with and what you cannot do, I will say, and what you want to do with. This is important.
Well, I remember at one point in your kitchen when when you'd given me some confit de canard and lentils, and you said, "Here, you guys, you take this for the family and make something." And I put the lentils with the fat, with the confit, and I warmed everything up. And Jean-Pierre said, "What did you do?" And I said, "Oh no, I did something wrong." So I was wondering, how different are young cooks today, and do you think the people that are leaving schools are better qualified as cooks, or are they lacking somewhere?
Oh, we are all lacking of somewhere. We are all. No, I don't see mainly a difference today from yesterday. I think it's more. No, I do not. I see some wonderful young fellow who are, for example, at Union League, or I see with Jacques all over the place, and have this passion about food. And I think we have more people with passion, and that's very interesting. When you finish school, you cannot be a chef. You're just like an apprentice. Obviously, after that, you need to improve and I would say decant it yourself to a certain level. But what's important for me is to see the interest and the passion of people. And I think I met a lot of fellows who have a lot of passion, and that's make me very happy. They will find their way. They will find their own technique. Did they are better? It doesn't matter at this point of time, because I really believe that a person who has the passion for what he does, the real, desire to will succeed. Because when you like so much what you do, you're going to do it well. You're going to have your own style, and that's fine. And your style coming mainly for your experiences from your childhood, your culture, home culture, what your parents teach you, and the way they raise you, and after about your exposure on life with question of your equation. The equation is your exposure in life with what you and your observation and your own test, your culture of test. I mean, I think today is not a matter, and it's not so important than a kid who finished school if he's better or is less better than before. What's important, then he has the passion, because if he has the passion or her has the passion, they will be wonderful, I think so.
Do you miss working in the kitchen?
Yes, definitively. I love to work on the kitchen. You know what's very strange? What I observe. For example, I was 3 days with 2 persons, and I absolutely adore. Cooking is a matter of love. It's really a matter of love. This is a great. I never enjoy so much to cook with person that I like, and cooking for person that I like very much. This is a way of showing your interest and your appreciation on people, and also on the product and what you are cooking with. It's a beautiful emulsion. Obviously, I miss a lot of time to cook, and sometimes I try to inflict too much on a chef. I try just to give an idea now. Why with the season of that you should try to do that and that and that and that. And mainly that's it, because I need to preserve also the identity of the fellow work on the kitchen and what they want to do. But yes, I miss. Yeah. But I may go back on it one day. I don't know. I hope so.
Well, I miss cooking for you because I didn't get a long enough chance to work in your kitchen, and I missed a lot.
Well, we may do that. Yeah. We may do that one of these days. Not just with me, but with some other people who are very interesting.
And Jean-Pierre.
And Jacques, and this will be great.
We should have like a big reunion of the whole staff.
Yeah, that will be great, and cook something interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
Who are like 2 or 3 chefs that are exciting for you today that that are in, I guess, not in the media, but people that you know or think highly of?
Well, there is a couple of chefs, and I may think of it. Obviously, I think I love to cook with Jacques, because Jacques goes directly to the bottom line of things. Be careful to the produce, respect the text, cook simply. And this is interesting. I will love to obviously cook with Adrien Ferrand, because he's extreme, he's another opposite. I think there is a person also that I think is fascinating, a couple of chefs in America that I follow, Thomas Keller, obviously. Obviously also who I'm going to say Jean-Georges, but also some simple chef. We have a Jacques, or with Jacques in Madison over there, or I don't exactly know the address, but he do lobster rolls. I love to do a couple of lobster rolls because they are so good, and I know how to do them, but I don't know. I would love to do that. He don't have to be a great chef. He can be a simple chef who, a humble chef somewhere who do some wonderful stuff. I love to cook with Jean-Claude. He's an on the top of the Hunter over there in Hunter in Catskill over there in upstate New York, and I adored probably one of the person that I love to cook them up with, because you know what? You have an organic garden. We go in this garden, we take something, and here you have the most beautiful product. And he explained to you how to do these products, how to garden this product so well, and what is the seed and what is that. Cooking with him is probably one of my favorite chefs, because here I have the most beautiful product. And he was used to raise beef, organic beef, before a lot of people thinking of it. Organic lamb. And if he didn't raise organic pig, it's because his wife didn't want, because Hoda, she was scared, but he will adore to do that. That means, this couple of days we were doing blood sausage over there in Hunter. That was great, and with the best, we want to do blood sausage with leeks. We just pick up a couple of leeks from the garden, and just a leek by himself, and he teach me how to do a leek vinaigrette. I never thought who the hell do not know how to do a leek vinaigrette, but this leek vinaigrette. This means this is probably one of my favorite chefs, and I love to cook with.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, one day I'll have to give you my recipe for Ecuadorian blood sausages. My wife makes really good.
Oh, blood sausage. Oh, yes, from Ecuador? Okay.
With cabbage and rice and cilantro.
Okay.
It's very different, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'd love to.
What would you say is your favorite food to prepare, or your favorite dish, or your type of food that you like the most?
My favorite food to prepare is the food for my best friends, for the person that I love, and it can be very eclectic. I do not have like I was dreaming to, in France we have some things and we do in fall, almost in the beginning of. I said in France, but it was done in whole Europe. I do not was what we call the Saint-Cochon. And the Saint-Cochon was killing the pork and use everything. That means, we were doing the ham, we were doing the blood sausage, we were doing the pâté, we were doing all of these things, the bacon and all of that. This is something who I think is fascinating. It's always a matter of product in any way. I love to cook like I told you, in Hunter, single thing that I touch is a spectacular product. It's not so many, but you don't need to be thousands of products. But 10 products that I touch to make the meal is absolutely spectacular. That's my favorite food. It can be anything. But I'm not so cultured than a lot of American chefs about all of the food around the world. You know very well Ecuadorian food. Some know very well the Thai food. I do not, unfortunately, have the privilege to know that. I know a little bit about the Italian food, and I should know more because I love this cooking, and also about Spanish, and I think it's spectacular food too. But I do not know enough of the rest. That means this is also my quest. I have to, madam, I can assure you that I maybe have more interest than I have in the past about all of that.
Well, we'll have to take you out to some restaurants in New York to try some different things.
I love to.
Yeah.
Every time I can escape to go over there, I do that.
It's funny because when you were talking about the Saint-Cochon, my mother used to tell me about that when she lived in a village in the Var. About that, and she said, and we used everything, and she explained all the different parts, and she said, but the worst was when the pig was screaming and they were killing it. Yeah,
this is absolutely. We do even something with the ears, with the head, we do the ear, and then this is absolutely fascinating. But the unique condition for me is to have a complete organic. And we were talking about that with Jean-Claude, who is probably my best favorite pal when I'm cooking, and he was talking to me and telling me that if you want to find some organic pig, you need to go in Puerto Rico. And he said, I was in Puerto Rico, and over there the pigs, they are eating, all of the pineapple, they are eating all of this stuff from the garden, and he said the pigs are absolutely delicious. They are really, really organic.